Welcome to the Carleena Show, where ordinary people share their hero's journey. I'm your host, Carleena Angwin, and this is episode 19 of the podcast. Today on the show we have Zibin Guo. Zibin is a medical anthropologist and Tai Chi Master, whose work takes him to the VA medical centers across the United States to teach their staff adaptive Tai Chi. Today on the show, Zibin takes us through the journey of his formative years in China to arriving in the United States in his early 20s and leading his first adaptive Tai Chi class by accident. That experience propelled him on a journey to develop an adaptive Tai Chi program that he debuted at the Beijing Paralympics and eventually led him to his work with the VA. Find out more about Zibin and watch a video of his program by visiting the podcast website at carleena.net. That's CARLEENA.net. From there, you can find past episodes, connect with the podcast on social media, and sign up for the mailing list. I'd like to thank Stephen Lorca for video editing and production so we can post our episodes on the Carleena Show YouTube channel as well as the podcast. Now I bring you Zibin Guo. Well, hello, Zibin.
Hello, Carolyn. How are you?
Good, good. I guess we've known each other for about 5 years now.
At least.
At least. I'm trying to think when it was I met you.
I think I met you when you, the first time I arrived here. Because remember, our first time I met you was you just got here.
Okay.
The health department.
Yeah. So it's been a few years, and I've always been a fan of yours.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So I'm really excited to have you on the show, and so there's a lot I want to cover with you. But maybe if you could just go ahead and tell people a little bit about you and what you're up to right now.
All right. Thank you. I'm a medical anthropologist, and in terms of my training. And but before then, I was martial arts fan and practitioner, and had a dream of one day to become martial arts master instructor. And but of course, and when I arrived here from China 30 some years ago, I realized that I need to learn English first.
So how old were you when you arrived here?
I arrived here when I was 24.
24.
Yeah, 24. When I was 24 years old.
Tell me a little bit about your formative years. What brought you here?
Well, I grew up in the age of uncertainty and I wouldn't say chaos, but for a lot of people, they would describe then was chaotic, but for kids, and really not that chaotic because kids, we all try to enjoy and everything and given to us. But I grew up in the era of what I call Cultural Revolution in China, and there was a lot of political events and uncertainty in terms of who are the enemies, who are not. It's like everybody can be a potentially anti-revolutionist, and but so that was the time I grew up, and I learned. I think at that time really taught us, our taught generation how to adapt. How to make worst to the best. How do you enjoy with things not there? So that was the kind of general grew up. But then, of course, I started to learn martial arts when I was 7 years old, and so being part of that culture and that really also helped me, give me a lot of what do you call it, strength and discipline.
Do you remember the first day you tried Tai Chi?
Well, I tried Tai Chi, that was later, and when I was 16, and after back injury, and I realized that it was impossible for me to become a professional martial artist like Bruce Lee, jump kicking because the back injury. And of course, then my master introduced me to a great Tai Chi master. And so I began to learn Tai Chi. But honestly, the first time I was told I needed to learn Tai Chi, internal martial arts, I was like, wow, what is that? Because that is like for old people, and moving so slowly. And I was young kids and I can fly, that kind of mentality. But of course, I was injured. And
What
but
happened?
still,
What happened that led you? What injured your back?
was doing a fight, kind of a training fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed a kick and end up on the floor for 20 minutes. Couldn't feel my back. It was pretty scary moment in my life. And but of course, then come back, and after a month of treatment, acupuncture, trainer, and so basically recovered. But I knew that certain movement I could not do anymore. So it's pretty think about it. It's pretty interesting time, and that how an injury and sudden injury and a dream of becoming a great martial artist. And but the Tai Chi is really kind of become the tool for my transformation, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in bad shape in terms of the back limitation. I could not do a lot of things. But then the Tai Chi is really kind of very ordinary. Look at it, it's slow, everybody can do it, but great implication for martial arts. And so I began to appreciate it and began to really kind of I try to study it, understand it philosophically, but also in terms of methods. And then I found out, wow, this is such a great event that I was injured. Otherwise, probably would, who knows?
What type of martial arts were you doing before?
Was generally called the Shaolin style.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fast, quick, moving, jumping, kicking, the kind of thing you will see in the movie.
Would it be like jujitsu or karate, or is it
Yeah,
different?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
was similar to that. Similar
Okay.
to that in Aikido, in Taekwondo and
Mm-hmm.
karate and Kung Fu stuff. It's Kung Fu stuff. I saw the movie of Jackie Chan
Uh-huh.
and Bruce Lee and Jet Li. So that.
That,
Yeah.
okay. Is that something that your family did, or?
Well, it's not my family. My father always interested in the traditional martial arts idea, because the martial arts in China is considered as a way of becoming something, and also transformation is that you not just have the skill, but most importantly possess the discipline and teach you how to become a person, tolerate the pain, enduring all the hardship and able to overcome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what other education did you have in China before you came to the U.S.?
Well, I got my bachelor degree in education. Basically, I was preparing myself to become a martial arts instructor, coach. I will, teaching Tai Chi for my life. And but I think I run into I had a few students from America, and when I was in China, and they tell me, says, "Wow, you are so good. You can make a lot of money in America." So that was kind of shocking to me. I never thought about I would leave.
You had American students in your class in
That's right, in
China.
China, right, right.
Okay.
Actually, the guy from Connecticut. But anyway, so first time I thought, wow, really, and but of course, then China during that time was the beginning of the opening up to the West. So people began to see the West, very different views. And used to be, America is all imperialistic and those kind of things. But then we realized, no, America is also most modernized and advanced industrial society. And China also began to really kind of, provide those information for us. So we have that kind of urge. That generation want to expand our own experiences, the views about the world, about life, and after grew up with that kind of cultural, political chaos, and go out, just go out, become a simple reason, because we feel like we need to see the world, because the world suddenly become a new one, and it's completely different from the one we were taught when we were little kids. So at that time, a lot of people went to abroad, go to Europe, go to anywhere to study, and so I applied to graduate school in Connecticut because the students of mine was there, and he encouraged me and helped me, and so.
Did you have family here when
No.
you came? Do you have?
No.
Do you have family now that's come or?
No.
No. Okay, so all your family.
No, well, yes, my parents, of course. Yeah, my brother and was in China.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And you were 24 when you came to the
Yes,
States?
24.
So what was that like?
Well, it was exciting. Actually, it was really exciting. I think because of my attitude, and of course, I chose to come. And even though was thinking about it, it's pretty scary. Pretty scary. And with $50 in your pocket, and 2 suitcases, but then just fearless. Feel like, oh yes, I can overcome. It's gonna be great. So everything that I run into become a fascination. I just feel like, wow, it's so cool. Even I run into, I think the first day at JFK, when I get off the airplane, my friends come pick me up. And as we, carry a suitcase and moving along, and the couple guys come over and say, hey, can I help you? My friend said, no, 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 no. I said, wow, people are so friendly here. I don't help. And so it's, I think it was an age of discovery, that kind of spirit. So American, to me, was a fascinating place.
Okay, okay. So you went to University of Connecticut, and then how old were you when you started teaching at Harvard?
Well, I went to Harvard Medical School as the first 2 years as a fellow, then 3 years become a lecturer, and was 1995.
Okay, 1995.
Right after I graduated, got my PhD in medical anthropology from the University of Connecticut.
All right. So at what point did you start the Tai Chi community?
Well, that's when I came to Chattanooga, 1998.
1998.
That's
you
right.
moved to Chattanooga.
Chattanooga for the positions that they are trying to sink to fill medical anthropology. So that was when I came, August 1998, and then I think we began to develop the Tai Chi community in 1999.
Okay, and you're a medical anthropologist as well.
Yes, I came here as a medical anthropologist faculty, UTC.
Okay, so how are Tai Chi and medical anthropology? Are there any similarities you see, or?
Oh yeah, it's a fascinating, because it's such a coincidence. Life is sometimes it's about those coincidences. You can make them happen, and I feel very fortunate. I love Tai Chi. I have not just the knowledge, but also has experience in terms of practicing it. And Tai Chi is a cultural metaphor, and it's a cultural expression. It's a culturally constructed way of thinking and engaging. If you think about it, and which is very different from any other, martial arts, for example, also as cultural construct. And it's emphasized the idea of yielding, redirecting, right? Instead of heads on, right? The emphasis of circular movements and gentle, yield like bamboo, moving like water. And so that is a very, very profound and unusual way, almost like extraordinary way, right? The ordinary way, the thinking for us is someone punch you, punching back, right? You push me, I push you back. So that's very, very ordinary. But extraordinary is overcome by yielding. So that to me is fascinating. So anthropology, medical anthropology, actually is study of how different cultural ideas and the belief system, social reality contributing to the way we recognize and also the way we deal with health and illnesses and disease. And Tai Chi as a way to really emphasize how you bring disorder back to order, and by creating the mind-body unified movement, and doing so, you create a lot of power. And to move like water, for example, it's very, very simple in terms of expression, right? Move like water. But how? How are you able to move like water? Your human body is not like water outside, right? Our mind can go 1,000 miles away with a second to 18 different directions, right?
Yeah.
If you meditate, without meditation, probably 800,000 different directions. But I'm saying here is it's so challenge, right, for the mind and body working together to moving like water. But once you're able to do that, you create tremendous amount of power, and just like moving like water. So that to me is a fascinating, and so it's a part of my what I call it my passion. I understand how we can think so differently about dealing with the force, about dealing with stress, for example, dealing with all kinds of undesirable forces, right? And how culture plays a role in shaping the belief we have about the nature of particular problems and the way of dealing with it.
Okay. When did you start practicing or teaching adaptive Tai Chi?
Well, I began to teach adaptive Tai Chi actually by accident, by accident, and back in 1987, and when I was in Connecticut, and one day I got a call from somebody. His name is Paul, and he says that I always want to learn Tai Chi. I read so many of philosophies, art of war, Tao Te Ching, and fascinating was the way of thinking, and especially about Tai Chi, but never had a chance to find a teacher. And I heard you're here, and you teach Tai Chi pretty good. Would you offer me a private lesson? I said, of course, it'd be great. So we decided to start classes, say next week at his house. He said, I'm a freelance writer. I work out of my basement. Basement is my office. And so I will leave the door open, 2 o'clock, and Wednesday you come in and open the door. And my basement is the right-hand side of the main entrance. So you can find it, just open the door and give me help. I'll be up for you. I said, fine. So just before hang up the phone, he said, oh, by the way, I'm blind.
Oh.
I said, what? So I mean, I never thought about it,
He said he was blind?
Blind, cannot see.
Okay.
He can see things. And he says, of course, he did it intentionally. He says, well, I hope you don't have a problem with teaching, people with disability. I said, no, not that. I never thought that. I'm just afraid I'm going to fail. He said, no problem, and I'm a very good listener. Just explain to me clearly, and be fine. I said, it's fine. Since it's a private class, it's not, public class. So I said, let's see what happens. So anyway, so I went there that day, and found his house, opened the door, and found the basement door, open it. Of course, basement going down, and there was a pitch dark. There's no lights. So I tried to look for the switch. I couldn't find a switch anywhere. And so I said, hey, Paul, I'm here in Zibin, and where is the light switch? You know. He said, hey, he says, why do we need light for? So that was my moment of enlightenment.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Enlightenment. And I never thought about it, you know. I have a disability. And he can move around, you know, in the dark basement without light. I need a light. We need light. Light is an assistant device, right? And I never thought about that until that moment. I was so impressed with his witty and intelligence. So we become friends, and we talked. But unfortunately, and the training did not last too long. And a few weeks later, we had to cut off because that was too difficult. And for me, because I didn't have any experiences, and so it's difficult to learn moving slowly without visual as a reference and see, because our balance very much depends on our visual, right? And so that, but back then I began to wonder, he loved Tai Chi so much, he's so smart, there must be some way that he's able to enjoy the art of Tai Chi. And but that was my first experiences of almost like teaching Tai Chi for people who are and almost like extraordinary. Right? It's very different from the ordinary population I have dealt with, and but also was the beginning and point for me to try to understand the whole idea of ability and a disability, how those perceptions affect our way of seeing ourselves and see the world, and eventually how that affect our way to engaging with our social life.
So that was 1987?
That was 1987.
And you went to the Beijing Paralympics?
That was much later. That was
2008?
2008, yeah, 2006. And I developed the wheelchair Tai Chi was motivated by, of course, by my years of learning and how perceptions tend to not just affect the way we defining ourselves, but also the way we engaging with others. And perception is very important. The perception can be changed. And one of the way of changing perception is by change the meaning of a particular phenomena. For example, wheelchair. And the wheelchair oftentimes perceived as sign of disability, right? And oftentimes studies suggest that when a wheelchair, a person in a wheelchair moving on a street, and we don't see the people, we see the wheelchair, right? And so that is a very common. We all understand that, but there are a lot of things we do. We rely on devices, assistant devices, but we don't associate that devices with that kind of negative meanings, because the devices can do something else. For example, always fascinating with skating. People wear skates and skating beautifully. The Winter Olympics, for example. But when we're watching those figure skatings, we don't hardly thinking about, oh, it's all skates, right? We think about all those people. So skates become something else, become a tool of empowerment, right? We don't think, oh, those people, they really, because they did so good because of skates. We don't think that way. So, of course, skates was originated, right, from the idea of assistant device. So we can move around from one place to another in winter, snowy place. And but wheelchair, something. So if we can make it the wheelchair movement wheelchair movement become part of Tai Chi movement, for example, in this case, will that change perceptions? Will that change the not just the participant perceptions about themselves, but also would it change the audience? People, look, say, wow, that's not a wheelchair. This guy in wheelchair doing Tai Chi. The wheelchair movement become part of the Tai Chi movement. So idea is to transform the meaning of that particular instrument.
Right, right. When was the first time you taught an adaptive Tai Chi class?
The first time I taught adaptive Tai Chi classes, there's no really kind of form adaptive Tai Chi classes. Over the years and throughout the years, I always had students who come in with some kind of physical problems, right? And the knee problems, back problem, hip problems, so they cannot move, and as some way as others, so have to come up a way to help them to enjoy the Tai Chi, but also somehow that they're able to do it.
Yeah, yeah. How did it work out that you went to Beijing to teach at the Paralympics?
So the 2006, and I developed wheelchair Tai Chi. They learn about it. It says, can you send us a video copy? We want to see it. And so I sent a copy to them. They loved it. It says, wow, Tai Chi is such a popular icon in China. You don't have to promote it. People just say, wow, Tai Chi. They understand it, right? And also Tai Chi in the Chinese cultural context considered as martial arts. A lot of people think, oh, that is cool. And so it tend to normalize the people, right? And so they thought this idea is simple and it's great, especially and for population that rely on basic self-reliances, right? That you can do anywhere. You don't need a facility. You don't need a team manager. You don't need equipment. You can do anywhere by yourself. So they decide to promote this nationally. So 2006 and 4, the organized the first ever we call national wheelchair Tai Chi instructor training workshops. So I was invited and go there to conduct the training workshops. So each province sent 2 people to Beijing and the training center and to learn this. And many of them are Tai Chi experts, and also many of them are professionals working with people with disabilities. So yeah, then 2007, they include promoting the wheelchair Tai Chi as part of health promotion movement, and by the China Federation for People with Disability.
And when did you start working with veterans?
I started working with veterans about I think 3 years ago, and 3 years ago, and just by a kind of opportunity, and I learned that USVA has an adaptive sports program, which provide fundings for program that will benefits that veterans and with disabilities. So I talked to the manager, the director of this program, and he said, "Wow, wheelchair Tai Chi is going to be perfect." And because Tai Chi has become popular, U.S. as a part of mind-body exercise, and Tai Chi is also for martial arts, which has special meaning to the veterans because many veterans have that kind of a warrior spirit, right? So to engage in something that's so gentle, good for mind and body, but most importantly, also has martial arts implications, tend to add the elements of empowerment. And so I applied for the grant and I got it. And the first grant was to develop a model and see if it works. So working with Tennessee VA, Medical Center at Murfreesboro, and 2016 we, developed this model and start have classes, trainings, instructor training workshops, and so 2017 apply for another grant, so to kind of promote the model nationally, and so we got a grant and traveled to 7 VA medical centers, and each center we did 3-day training workshops, and the responses from the participants of those workshops is extremely positive. And many of those participants are healthcare providers within the VA medical center, physicians, psychiatrists, PT, OTs, recreational therapists. And almost immediately after training workshop, they start classes. For example, in Phoenix and several other places, Tai Chi, the adapted Tai Chi is top, and classes people have to be on waiting list to get in the classes. Mm-hmm. So, and with that kind of success, and USVA and decided to continue support and fund us another year of grant. And next year going to be travel to 15 VA medical centers.
Wow.
To conduct the training workshops. So it's very, very exciting to me, personally and professionally.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the class in Murfreesboro. Is that the first class that you taught to veterans, and was that at the VA?
At the VA and Murfreesboro, the VA medical centers, and collaborate with Department of Rehab, Division of Rehabilitations, and particularly with the Recreation Department. And we've been doing that since 2016.
So tell me a little bit about that class, that group, the people, the participants.
Most of those people participate in the classes are what they call it,
veteran.
They are veterans, and they often depending on the VA medical system, right, for the healthcare. And of course, most of them have disability and has including PTSD. So it took a while to promote the classes because, and many people with PTSD especially, they don't very reluctant to be in a group. People, they want to be by themselves. And but it took a while, and we had a few people come, and then they enjoy so much. They start to spread the words, and so we get more and more people. So and most participants for that in that site are veterans and Iraqi war. I think most of them Iraqi and Afghanistan. So we have also quite a few female, and sometimes because the Murfreesboro Medical Center have of course the inpatients, and people actually live there, stay there. So sometimes they also bring them down and to participate the classes.
Okay, they were in their 30s or were they older?
40s, 50s, and 60s. And we had a few of 30s with severe spinal cord injuries. Yeah, and it's all any other programs that when you target a population like that, you always have a challenge of not because of program, rather than because of the transportation, for example. For people to come to the site and to take the training, to participate training regularly. And many of those veterans, in order to get a place from home to here, from for example, assisted living, right? There's a military, I think, veterans home that for people with disabilities, and you have to come, you have to have transportations, have to have staff take you. And once in a while will be fun, but if you have to do it regularly, that presents a challenge.
And was it once a week for a certain amount of time?
Once a week, and from 10 to 11. that classes started in 2016 and continue until this day, become very popular.
Mm-hmm. And then at what point did you start training VA staff?
Well, when we got the grant, and the first year of grant, 2016, and we decided to have workshop because there was so much of interest of learning and to learn this form of Tai Chi and to work to incorporate the methods and to their therapeutic interactions with the patients. We have psychiatrists working with VA veterans with pain management issues, and we had healthcare providers who are working with patients with PTSD, for example.
Mm-hmm. How were the other VAs finding out about the program that you were doing in Murfreesboro?
Well, I think that the news somehow to get out, and people probably, recreational healthcare providers, they go to conferences, right? The conference probably share information, and there are many. I think later, and there was, I think a VA every year, they will publish the recipients of particular kind of grants. So some people learn from there, say, oh, wow, the wheelchair Tai Chi got a grant funded. So what is that? Mm-hmm. And so we got a lot of requests from all over, and that's why. And the third year funding, which is this year, including next summer, going to be 15.
Mm-hmm. Which states are you in right now, or which states have you trained
VA
staff?
I trained Utah, Salt Lake City, Tampa, Florida, and Texas, and Fort Worth, and outpatient clinic, New Orleans, and Jackson, Mississippi, and Phoenix, Arizona, and Palo Alto, California.
Mm. Do you know where you're going next year?
Oh yes, I do.
Where are you going?
Well, first I'm gonna go to the Texas, Bonham, Texas, and then there will be Martinburg and West Virginia. I know gonna go to Boston, gonna go to California, San Diego, San Francisco, and gonna go to Colorado, Grand Junctions, and gonna go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, New Jersey, New York, and Boston, Syracuse.
Syracuse?
Yeah, Syracuse, New York.
That's where I'm from.
Is that right?
Well, I mean, I'm from like 40 minutes from there, but that's what I say. I say I'm from Syracuse.
Oh, yes, has to be.
Hopefully you're going in the summertime.
Yes, it's going to be
The
March.
winters are cold.
No, I don't want. I know. I always tell people, Syracuse winter time, 3 o'clock is everybody in the bar.
Yeah.
And so it's 12 states.
Wow. Okay.
Of 13 states, Indiana, and 13 states and 15 locations, Alabama as well.
So you're going to go to all of these states, and when you go there, you go directly to the VA and train their staff. And how many people will you train in each VA?
So average about 15. Each side varies. We set up a maximum is 20.
Mm-hmm. So then, so there's several different VAs in each state, and if you're going to one state, will there be staff from the other VAs will come?
Well, apparently it's just now because of the whole VA is engaging, the VA medical system is engaging what they call the cultural transformation, and the established what they call the whole health program within VA medical system, and a few years ago. And so what the whole health program does is that to encourage, to help each VA medical center to provide 5 complementary and alternative healthcare methods, services for veterans. The 5 healthcare services is acupuncture, chiropractic, and Tai Chi, yoga and meditation. So each of centers has great interests and to adapt a program that is suited. So they found this program, wheelchair Tai Chi program, is perfect because this program, wheelchair Tai Chi program, not just only for people in the wheelchair, right? and not just doing the wheelchair, but rather than to integrate wheelchair movement with Tai Chi movement. And also you can do the walking form as well. So that kind of a nature of adaptation, and it's suitable for wide range of folks with different kind of body conditions.
Yeah. So how does the hero's journey play into adaptive Tai Chi? Or, so I remember when we ran into each other at the park, you were telling me about the hero's journey and how you apply it to your work. So could you talk a little about that?
Well, you know, I like really enjoying all the writings of Joseph Campbell, and very early on, and I really appreciate his interest in understanding the whole idea of transformation. Right, life is about transformation, and life is without transformation, life would be boring. What we're gonna do? What's happened tomorrow, right? And life is also full of those challenges, right? Hardship sometimes pain, and how to make sense of those pain, how to give us confidence going through those sufferings, so we can able to continue and enjoy life, right? And so that is all transformation about. So I always and find the whole concept is such a powerful and meaningful, important for ordinary life. And so learning martial arts, and to me, is a transformation, and from ordinary to extraordinary. Now, and people with disabilities, like including myself, right? I cannot, work out in a dark basement, right? And without the light system devices. But what do we do is try to make a thing we do become meaningful, right? So we kind of give that meaning and translate the meaning into our own. For example, martial art training. Well, I did this because it was so hard. I couldn't believe I did it. I wasn't able to do it, but eventually I did. I told myself, keep on training, keep on training. So eventually I did it. So now I'm different, right? I'm different in a way that I have transformed. So therefore, they give me a sense of power. And so Tai Chi, to me, is perfect. It's a perfect way of engaging such transformation. Tai Chi is simply so gentle, yielding, round, circular, and slow. But if you understand the meaning of it, say, wow, that is so powerful. Able to yield and then able to direct, right? So it doesn't matter how much power that from outside come at you, you can just simply gracefully and you redirect. So that is extraordinary. Now, so I mean, all my students and the people I know and the literature I read talk about how Tai Chi practices tend to provide powerful psychological effect, right? So I believe, and this is one of very important elements. So, and back to the, we all need heroes. We all need some kind of means of so we can transform, and people with disability too, people with psychological distress too. So how can we provide some kind of practical, accessible, and too, and for people of all health conditions, so they're able to use it and to change the perception from ordinary to extraordinary, or and to feel down, feel positive, right? To feel helpless, to feel empowered. So that to me is very common way of transformation. That's
yeah, I like that. So I was going to ask what's next for you, but I know this next year is going to be really busy with all of your trips all over the country.
yes.
What's after that?
Well, it's a way I try to really kind of develop approach, And the approach is to really kind of, develop the model through the veterans population. For example, using Tai Chi, that you kind of developed with the knowledge about the participants' social, cultural characteristics, their needs, right? And are then able to make change perceptions to promote positive, proactive lifestyle outlook. So if that works, and that model can be applied to a general population as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, we have a few more minutes here. Do you want to mention some of your mentors?
Well, teachers are very, very important. As Confucius says, if you're walking with three people and one of them is going to be a teacher, and you always learn from others. Sometimes, of course, by watching people make a mistake. It's also a way of learning. But I had a few martial arts teachers and masters, and most profoundly, I think they all kind of impacted me in a different way. I think most, the profound impact that I have received is when I saw them, teach by example. Themselves, for example, never complaining. For example, they always have positive outlook, and it doesn't matter what happens. Always have that kind of, you look at them, you feel sense of hope. If you, of course, I was kids, every time was, oh my God, nothing's a problem. I mean, they're just so confident life. And of course, and when I grew up, I know their life was not as glorious as I thought.
Mm-hmm.
They got to go out shopping, buy breakfast, buy food, cooking, washing dishes, washing clothes, and even living with a very, very, humble lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But when they come out, that kind of energy, if you like, they're on top of the mountain. I think so that is a very, very simple way of transformation to me,
Mm-hmm.
is how you able to, make ordinary to extraordinary.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good. Is there anything else that you wanted to share? Anything else?
Well, I think it's a very, very important to me. I think it's a very important to have those people around, to run into those people who constantly provide inspiration. And I think what we're lacking today is that kind of unity, groupness, and more and more people are tend to keep themselves, and iPhones, iPads, works, how they come out socializing, and of course we begin to see the consequences of it. So once you're able to socializing and able to come out, able to have a conversation, and you never know, you will be inspired, right? That inspiration may benefit you a
Mm-hmm.
lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, good. I think that's a good place to end, unless there's anything else that you wanted to mention.
Thank you for having me, and I'm a big fan of your work, and you're amazing.
Well, thank you. I'm a big fan of you and your
Thank you.
work. So thanks for coming on the show and talking to me today.
Thank you.
Okay.